This is going to be pertinent to the quoting policy. Don't get lost.
Are you an iPhone guy? Or Android?
I'm just maybe the most non-techie guy.
You are?
Yes.
Well, I can help you with that.
I know you do. I'm just old enough, and computers are first in school when I just in the software.
You both. I learned on a computer that had a cassette tape for a hard drive.
That's, oh yeah, 1978.
I was in junior high school.
You don't need documentation for the quoting policy, do you?
All right, so this is the agenda, and then first you can click each link.
No, I took it off the agenda. Yeah.
Pretty quick sideways to it, matter. Yeah, I don't think so. We can always call you if there's.
If you need, you shouldn't have changed anything.
Well, I was sneaking around the block. Yeah, I make it to town on the first Tuesday of the month usually. We're in a few minutes after 1, we will call the meeting to order. If everybody would please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on your agenda is the execution of the certificate of appointment for your new commissioner. The chairman has a copy of the appointment. It's in the same form as it was for all other appointments. And so if one of you would be kind enough to move for the approval.
I'll move.
An arm wrestle?
No.
Luke? For a motion?
I'll second.
Greg for a second. For discussion on the appointment. Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Appointments do require a roll call.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Greg Palmer,
Aye.
Dan Jensen.
Aye.
Rich don't get a vote on his own appointment. Luke Ritzman, myself, I'm an aye.
Okay, with that, I have an oath of office that I'd like to administer to you. So if you'd be willing to raise your right hand. Do you, Rich Strasberg, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your knowledge and ability, perform all duties as appointed commissioner for District 2 for Hand County, South Dakota, as provided by law?
I did.
You would, put your John Henry right there. And I will sign it later and I'll get you a copy. Did you sign yours? Thank you. Thank you. The next item is the review and modifications or approval of the agenda. Is there any need to alter the agenda? Motion to approve?
Move to approve. Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Luke to approve the agenda as worded. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Does anybody have any conflicts of interest you'd like to declare? Or write that down as a moment.
I just texted
Pardon me? You texted him?
him.
Okay.
Shane's on his way.
Just texted him. Is that,
We can move to the 4-H program if you don't mind. This is an annual event for the memorandum of understanding. Essentially, what the memorandum does is they take last year's and this year they're using an addendum, which basically pertains to how the 4-H directors were chosen. So as long as we don't have a change in directorship, it doesn't impact us. So Ann was here. She said she's got company downstairs, so she asked if I could just take care of it. So I would recommend that you approve it.
My motion approved.
That's why.
Got a motion by Luke, second by Greg, to approve that memorandum of understanding for 4-H. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I yield back to Shane.
This is a jail contract. Is there questions on it?
I guess my biggest question was how much did,
Well, wasn't prepared. You have the letter.
was about $100 last year.
Yeah, for the juvenile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adult, it looked like it was about the same.
Yeah, the adult, I thought was the same, and then the juvenile went up $100, we never used them. I haven't,
But all adults go to Pierce too.
all our adults go to Beagle County,
Oh,
so we don't even use
I
them.
I read this yesterday, that's something that said about Pierce.
No, hardly ever, I think I've transported there once when everybody was small, but.
It used to be, you transmit, or transfer the binder,
Oh,
the one good.
yeah, yeah, we still have a contract with Charles next, but we don't, again, it's only if everybody's small, so.
Do we still have one with Falk, or did we?
Yep.
So we've got options.
We've got a lot of options, but for the juvenile one, it's kind of the only one around except for Aberdeen, and they're always full, so.
Do we need a motion to approve those
I'll make,
individually or together?
I think collectively.
I'll make a motion for both the adult and juvenile.
Got a motion by Luke and a second by Greg to approve those prisoner care contracts. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And I think they're in your folder for signatures.
Yep.
Oh, I got.
Thanks, Shane.
All right, so we are to the zoning setback request. This was Jay Poindexter called me, he said he might have others here as well. I see Mike's here. Amber, are you with them?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, keep pretty shady company, we are. I invited him to come here and basically to request to consider extending setbacks. And he will explain the bulk of that. And he gave you all a handout. So, all yours, Jay.
So, obviously, everybody jump up here if you want to, Jay, up there. So obviously, the RL 21 code basically says that you guys have the power to decide what kind of setbacks you guys want in the county. Or, kind of reaffirm that. So, we brought to you today a copy just for an idea of like the state county ordinances and how they do it. And they said they adopted theirs, I believe, 2 years ago. But anyway, it talks about like through high residential areas or high inference areas, they back it up 2 foot. I said, some of these people, I said, Chuck Martin Moss, he's one of them too. The way their pipeline's running right now, they feel like it's a little too close to their house. They like it back a little bit further. So this was an option for you guys to consider, or what you guys think.
This is space.
That
All
is
this
space.
space.
Yes.
The setbacks. First of all, I think this is something Elton should probably review for us and advise us on. And, Jamie, would this have to be an amendment to our zoning ordinance?
Yes. we would have to go through basically a zoning hearing, publish it, and then have the public be able to have comments, and then go through the approval process. So yes, and I would advise that we would obviously talk to Elton before doing such things.
I know there was discussion previously, probably over a year ago, I think, that, and this was discussion between Commissioner Jones, that carbon capture pipelines are not even listed in our zoning ordinance. We've got 50 some permitted uses and then several conditional uses. And my opinion, which take it for what it's worth, is since the South Dakota Supreme Court said this pipeline is not a common carrier, doesn't transport a commodity, wouldn't qualify as a utility under that Supreme Court decision, I don't know that it is even permitted by our zoning ordinance currently. So if we were going to my thought is if we're going to put setbacks in place, we would have to amend our zoning ordinance to first allow carbon capture pipelines and then decide on safety setbacks. And I'll be honest with everybody here. If you had attended some of the information meetings that we put on when we were asking people to vote no on RL21, and if you listen to the pipeline experts that gave testimony about how far back safety setbacks should be, they said their safety setbacks for these pipelines shouldn't be measured in feet, they should be measured in miles. And if God forbid that one of these pipelines would rupture, especially when you get up to that 24-inch pipe volume, the safety setbacks are significant. Summit has refused to release plume studies, and their excuse to the North Dakota Commission, Public Utilities Commission, whatever it is in North Dakota, whatever they call it, their excuse for not releasing the plume studies to the public was because it's a matter of national security. And I learned from another expert that a person that served in the military in, can't think of the department I want to say, that said that the U.S. military defines concentrated CO2 as a, weapon of mass destruction. So there are, my opinion is there are a lot of things we need to learn about carbon capture pipelines before we even consider putting safety setbacks in place. I think that's, and that is something that PHMSA makes it clear that that's our jurisdiction to site the pipeline, which would be related to safety setbacks, and PHMSA makes it clear that they take care of safety. Counties or local jurisdictions can take care of siting and safety setbacks and stuff, but they basically focus on the safety of the pipe, the chances of rupture and stuff like that. But for example, when I'm talking about the safety of this thing, Curtis Judd is a retired pipeline engineer from up in Bismarck, North Dakota. He spoke at an event in Aberdeen that I was invited to speak at. And he said a 24-inch pipeline, and I think the number he used was about 1,800 pounds of pressure. A 24-inch pipeline at 1,800 pounds of pressure with safety valves 20 miles apart. He goes, assuming that the safety valves function correctly, if that pipeline ruptures, and he said the amount of fatal concentration of CO2, he said if you were to put that in a cylinder and contain it, which there's a lot of variables to how that acts, temperature, topography, humidity, wind, all that stuff affects how that CO2 would disperse. But he says if you were to contain that, the fatal concentration would be 4 feet deep and 23.6 miles across. So this, I just don't believe this is something that should be taken lightly. I really would like to see PHMSA's new, information that they put out on this pipeline before we get in any hurry to, rush into modifying our zoning ordinance, and maybe it's completely underdone and would have to be done again, but I certainly think this is something that Elton, should look at and make a
Do you
recommendation.
know if surrounding counties have made the action on this stuff?
Have other counties, you know, Jay, like,
Spink obviously has.
Spink, McPherson, Brown, and I believe Edmonds has one.
those
Not
were,
Walker, Hyde,
No, Hawk is working on one, but I don't know if they've actually officially passed. I've never seen that.
I think some other counties, down along the pipeline going southeast have now, I know they're in discussions online. I've seen that some counties are refusing to address it. Other counties have addressed it, put safe or setbacks in place. But I don't,
Do you know if they have similar setbacks between them? Is it, or so this, it's a half mile, am I right on?
This one's 2 miles, yeah.
What's that?
I think that's agreed, it's 2 miles somewhere.
Well, there's, the difference is, so there's a 2,640 feet from schools, daycares, churches, residential dwellings, and then it has a part for high consequence areas, which
Yeah.
I don't know what's defined as a high consequence area, and that's 2 miles.
and on the topic of high concentration areas, those safety valves that they put in the pipeline, when you get close to a city over so many, certain population, then they require those safety valves to be 15 miles apart, is my understanding. But we had an extensive discussion at a meeting down in Madison with about 100 people there. And I said, we're gonna have a 6 or an 8-inch pipeline going across northern Han County.
The easements are saying 8, so 8-inch pipeline.
So if you put safety valves 20 miles apart on an 8-inch pipeline, as opposed to 20 miles apart on a 24-inch pipeline, that is a huge difference in amount of release between 8 inches and 24 inches. So, I don't know, I certainly don't feel qualified to make a decision on setbacks until, I would really like to see a release of plume studies. And they say, well, it's such a complicated process that nobody can ever figure it out. Give us worst case scenario, best case scenario, and average it. You know, if you don't think we're smart enough to work with more than 3 different numbers, but there is the potential for a lot of people. Now, if this pipeline ruptures in the wrong spots, I know that, and I don't know.
Jen, I have a question. So if you have a situation where you've got a daycare or a school or something like that, and it has to be so many feet back, if the pipeline's already there and you want to put a daycare or a school or whatever, you also have to then stay with the pipeline, right? So if the pipeline's already there, then you can't build it. Correct?
Well, PHMSA makes it clear, I've shown this document to a lot of people, it's document BL06, and that document makes it clear that we as a board of commissioners are to put safety setbacks in place after this pipeline, safety recommendations in place in our zoning. If this pipeline is built, we're supposed to decide as a board how far back we should put safety setbacks.
But it works in both ways. So once the pipeline's there, you can't put a daycare there either.
Well,
So
you certainly can if the county commission would say,
allows
yeah. well,
You'd have to get
probably not very-
a waiver.
it, depending on, yeah, whichever way you go.
Probably not a very bright decision, but I would assume they can sign a waiver and still put a daycare there if they want to, but
I was just thinking, like, if somebody had a in-home daycare that they were close to or something, and can't have it there because of the pipeline. So, just was wondering. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, what is everybody else's opinion? I certainly think.
I'm not an expert by any means, nor do I have the schooling or education to decide what I think setback should be necessary without some of its recommendations that is qualified in the area. I don't know or people are qualified, you know, I mean, I don't know, some of the people we've obviously conversed with.
People don't find out what's in. That's what's in. Advise them that.
Probably visit with some other counties and just kind of get an idea where they're at, where they got their information from. I guess,
Yeah.
because I haven't researched a lot, so.
And I do know that some of these counties, Spink County, I think for sure got sued for daring to have an opinion and put a safety setback in place. I don't know if those lawsuits are still ongoing. Do you know anything about
They've
that?
been dropped as of now, because they said once the Supreme Court deal, once they lost that fight with the South Dakota Supreme Court, then those, or charges got, or those stuff, that thing's got dropped for now. Doesn't mean we're gonna be back there, but
No.
I mean, I would agree that it makes sense to put some structure around it.
Yes.
No, and like, no action seems not. to be
Well,
so.
If this thing ends up getting built and it goes across Dan County and we're gonna have our citizenry jumping down our throat that we didn't do something to try to protect them. So the consensus of the board would be have Dalton look at it and advise us as
That's, the table stuff. Get some more knowledge.
is that okay with you, Jay?
I don't know what Eldon has, so maybe, he's probably not an expert at setbacks either, you know what I mean, but at least he's got
Well,
some thought.
what aggravates me is that they're not open about the risk. How can they excuse something that's a hazardous materials pipeline and it's transporting if concentrated enough deadly, gas, how can they refuse to release that to the public? That one has baffled me since the beginning. Why they're not required to release plume studies and give us some kind of, idea of what safety concerns should be. Well, we will,
JVD,
I'm here.
is it, or you think, is it Eric, is he gone? You think he would?
Well, just in our conversation with him before, he kind of advised us to wait for RL 21 before we even asked for anything. Yeah, he probably would have some, but he's not gonna tell us what to do. Obviously.
Right.
He could give us some examples of different ordinances he may have written for other counties, for sure.
I guess I would like to say something. Where it's gonna be crossing our ground, we got two places a half mile apart. It's gonna go right through the middle. So one place is gonna be less than a quarter of a mile away, the other one's gonna be a hair over a quarter of a mile away. You guys feel pretty comfortable living there? And you found that down through there?
I have friends in Sioux Falls or Minnehaha County, they are scared to death. I don't know enough about, like Greg said, I don't know enough about what's the odds? Yeah, it's not worth that, have a risk to avoid it.
Minnehaha has setbacks, and so does Lincoln County. Both of those counties in that area have setbacks for pipeline.
Do you know what they are?
I'm not gonna get back to the here. $330 feet away from residential areas, businesses, and churches. And then the ordinance in Lincoln County requires 1,855 feet.
Minnehaha, 330, and Lincoln, 1855.
That was in 2023, it was like,
those highly populated counties, it would be tough to have any kind of any too much of a setback, that. And then, like I said, that PHMSA document makes it clear that we as a board of commissioners are supposed to put safety recommendations in place if the pipeline is built. We're supposed to basically have documentation that advises people from building within, so close to the pipeline, and I would assume that would include a waiver that they would sign if they wanted to build closer to it, but I don't know, this thing is a really complicated deal, and I will say that I think PHMSA probably is gonna do a pretty good job of regulations, safety regulations and stuff, but it's not that they can be completely foolproof, and if that pipe ruptures, depending on a lot of conditions and who all's in the way, some people could die and a lot of people could die. Probably not in our situation in Han County, because we're crossing, sparsely populated stuff, but I don't think we should,
Take it lightly either.
not give it consideration anyway.
Is there a distance that would make you feel comfortable?
It affects those guys on the, like the guys up there in the neck of where the pipeline is, because our residence is far south. So I mean, to be real honest about it, those guys there, Chuck, Mike, all them guys like that, are a lot closer to this than what I am.
So you said you were quarterline, so is there a distance that would make you feel comfortable? Do you have something in mind?
Well,
Or maybe there's not.
none would be real quick.
Right, yeah. 1,000 miles.
You're gonna be comfortable, go north.
I'm just worried about if the ruptures, and if it's, let's say it's really cold, that stuff is just gonna hang on the ground forever. It ain't gonna go out, it's just gonna go out. So how far away is that gonna go?
Yeah, that was one thing that was said about our winter climate up here, was if that thing would rupture, that on a cold, still day, if it's below zero and the wind's not blowing, that stuff just hangs. It doesn't, because it's heavier than air, so, it isn't that it dissipates up into the air, it's gotta dissipate outward to get to a non-fatal concentration. Any other input on this discussion about setbacks? If you guys showed up here for this discussion on setbacks, the consensus of the board thus far has been to refer this to our state's attorney, because it would have to be basically an amendment or an addition to our zoning ordinance, as our zoning ordinance is currently worded. So we definitely have to have input from him to begin with. Our discussion thus far has been that none of us are experts enough. My main concern is the fact that they won't release a plume study. And like I said, if they give us we don't have to be rocket scientists. If they just give us a worst case scenario and a best case scenario and what an average rupture might be like. I mean, they keep saying that the calculations and all the things that play into it are far too complicated for us average Joes to figure out. Well, I don't think it's too complicated to figure out if you give some parameters of best and worst case, and it just concerns me that they are unwilling to talk about the risk and declare it a matter of national security. That is concerning enough to me. So anyway, I guess we'll leave this as the consensus of the board, is to have Dalton look at it, advise us on what he thinks.
I'll leave you guys with one other thing, and I'll sit down, but this is a resolution that Brown County has been working on for the upcoming legislative session, as when it comes to what eminent domain is, that they're against the use of eminent domain for a private use company. So I'll let you guys decide if you'd like to support that or do something like that. That's your guys' decision.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Will is homesick today, so I'm gonna read you a text that he sent regarding his portion of it. He was going to speak at the meeting about possible dates for celebrating the courthouse 100-year anniversary. The following are relevant dates that he could find. The contracts for construction were awarded June 3rd, 2025. The building was dedicated and officially opened December 1st of 26. He didn't find what the groundbreaking, what the date was there. So the question is, if you have thoughts or ideas pertaining to celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the building, and then which date do you choose as the date to commemorate? And then do you want to appoint a committee to pursue this and carry it through?
Well, I think it's worth being acknowledged and have a special day, maybe like the 4th or something, just have in the courthouse, because everyone should go to the roof, because on the roof is so neat, this town's so neat, you just stand there and go, the whole town, and you can hear, I mean, up there, you can hear kids at the playground.
Yeah.
The sound up there is so good.
Enough of that. What are you thinking? Any thoughts on the date?
Maybe we can also take a collection to replace some 100-year-old junk that keeps wearing out. Yeah, I would think that it would be worthwhile to celebrate and acknowledge, I guess.
I don't know to get too
I mean, the
carried away, but I mean, it's not,
Vacation was-
it's now to
26, right? Or is it all 25?
It was officially opened December 1st, and the building was dedicated on that date.
In December 1st, 1926.
Yeah, I think this building is only cost like $250,000. We heard about this before. And someone said, well, it only cost $250,000 to build this. And I, no, that's too cheap.
I've stated so many times, the marble work in here now would be multiple millions of dollars.
Yes.
it'd be expensive rebuild, but, it would, you know, it would be like a rebuild like this, right?
So it's
Well-
a consensus favor celebrating the anniversary?
You want a motion?
If you'll take one.
I would, go ahead.
I still move to acknowledge the courthouse 100
And,
to,
I don't know.
at some point, to appoint someone to
I think
organize.
Um,
We got comments from back here.
do you,
I think it would be, a good idea, maybe to talk to the historical society and maybe get them involved. I
There you
know that
go.
they've done those wooden, buildings in the past. Every year they sell them for fundraisers. The courthouse was one of them one year. Maybe it would be a cool thing to ask them to bring that back for the 100 years, you know, and have them sell those again, just,
They could be good to have been
do
coordinate.
you want to add a date for that celebration to your or to your motion, Rich?
That's,
You think it should be December 1st, 26, when it actually was christened, or should we?
I go, make it a day, like a 4th of July weekend, weekday or whatever. Then people will
Good idea.
come.
Consensus on when we should do it? Huh? Well, it was approved to be built, right, in 25, and then opened December 1st of 26.
Yeah.
a year on the building,
And yeah.
1925.
What the building says is 1925.
Like outside, it's got 1925 on the top.
Well,
that's the big cornerstone.
what do you guys think about doing it like over the 4th of July?
Well, that'd be a good time. I mean, in the winter months, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
get people.
Yeah.
So if we do it on the 4th of July, you have someone here, man, you can have, who's gonna be all here. Because the employees, like, you know, the only thing about doing something like that is, I mean, most of the, I assume a lot of employees and things are, want to be with their families and 4th,
Yeah,
camping or celebrating with families, and Those kind of things is the only question I have about that date.
Fourth of July is a front.
I would think we could find, enough of either the employees or the commissioners or some volunteers to do tours and stuff like that. For a day or 2 days or whatever it might be. It'll be, courthouse will be open anyway, I would assume because of the sheriff's office, wouldn't it?
They usually keep the doors locked.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Because they're not always here.
So, what are you thinking, over the 4th or?
I thought there was ways on a date, but that's my fault.
I want a different,
Huh?
a different date.
I don't know, I just said maybe wait on a date and have more discussion about it
Right.
before we decide on a date today. I think we would have to.
Yeah, talk about it all, like I said, you're right.
Now, you mentioned it before.
July 4th falls on a Friday, somebody probably already said that, I wasn't paying attention, but. Well,
I think later you were one to appoint somebody to appoint first.
Or
on a committee or-
somebody talk to historical society, that'd be, that's different. I've been to it.
I think we should just randomly pick somebody to head it up, like maybe she's sitting in the northwest corner of the commissioner's chambers.
What?
What?
That's not even nice.
It was just a suggestion, it wasn't a motion. Yeah. Well, let's table this for right now and
Second.
get a motion in a second.
Yeah, well, it's the most-
To acknowledge the 100.
Okay.
And other than that, no.
No specific date.
We'll figure it out.
We'll just keep it on the agenda.
So, motion and second to acknowledge the 100-year anniversary of the courthouse. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The other part I thought, the local historical society maybe, but, I know we've got some grants in the past, but the state historical society, maybe they have some kind of like program or.
Comment from the lady in the northwest corner.
Okay, so Amber, even she's a constituent there in the audience. We are already open to the public, like on Christmas on the Prairie. And maybe that would be kind of when we do it, and maybe we could have it be like, everybody decorate their tree for like I don't know, we could incorporate it that way.
100 years
some way.
celebration.
Why don't we just, table it for now?
Yeah.
And everybody keep working on ideas.
Yeah.
We're not picking a date.
Okay, we thought you were, so
No.
we're like,
No.
we're planning for the 2025, correct?
Well, we,
Somewhat.
all we
Yeah.
did, the motion was just to acknowledge 100-year anniversary of the courthouse.
Okay,
We're gonna work on date, planning, or somebody is.
sure. Right on top of that, Rose.
Jamie, can you hear the train whistle?
She got run over before.
All right,
Ready?
we are, I think.
Items tabled from the last meeting include the select service appointments. There was some discussion that there might be others that are interested.
I had one or two written down, so. Linked to do a, application, but I think it fell through.
Okay.
Thus far, Tom McGowan and Jim Henson, I don't think have done an application. I really need to get their email and forward that application to them, and I haven't got that done yet, but
How many did you say that they really wanted to have? What was it?
I thought it was 5 or 6.
That's what I remember.
6, maybe,
I was just 6.
and
Doesn't seem like it's not getting well received by people. I mean,
no,
really want it.
nobody wants to have to make a decision. But, I Like I said, I hope we can put a board together and they never once have to convene.
And it can't be like every other board that we have, that we just act as the board. Can't do one so.
We, you could end up,
We can, but it changes all the time. Oh, people come on and go off.
I can put an ad in the paper.
Let's try that maybe, see if we get much, anyone bites on that, I don't know, it's as good as anything. Maybe.
yeah, let's do that.
So what happens, I mean, I guess I haven't dug into it, so if no one, if we don't come up with a group, what happens? In the event that one is needed.
The selective service will draft us into serving on the board, I suppose. I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering, I mean, I don't know.
I've got no idea.
There's a lot of things people want you to do,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean you have to do them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just wonder, what are the consequences or what are the actions that are taken if we don't provide them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good question.
Mhm.
Because I can't believe, I can't believe that we're the only ones that haven't done this.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read through that email, but I don't remember how they handle that. I suppose it's only speculating here, but if you don't have a draft resolution board, draft appeals board, that somebody gets drafted, tough luck, the county didn't put a appeals board together, so you're going whether you like it or not. I don't know how that plays out if we don't have an appeals board that addresses those concerns. But we'll keep working it. We line some more people up.
You okay with the ad in the paper?
Yeah, I am.
Sure. I consensus, yes.
Okay.
On my end.
Okay, and then I'll turn it over to Nicole, to talk about uniforms.
All right, and you guys get goodies that came in here. We're talking about the uniform policy. I've done a little more research, and gotten some prices, which you guys will see. I looked into Runnings, and I don't see that they have a huge selection of high vis. They have jackets and coats and pants, like overalls type pants. They've got some t-shirts.
Did you talk to them there or just look?
I looked, I did call the store in town here, and they said they'd get back to me, and I emailed online off the website, so I'm waiting for a reply on that. I talked to Prairie Winds, Colony, and came up with a price of about $2,558, which is outfitting 7 guys. I think that cost comes up to like $350 a piece, something like that. And then the Pheasant Land, which is the Joe Durfee prison, is $1,926 to outfit them with, and that's with the printing on the shirts.
And that's who the state uses?
That's who the state uses, that's the DOT. The HighVisSupply.com, I thought I'd look into that, and that's very comparable to the prison price-wise. I didn't know if you guys wanted to spend a little extra money and maybe support the colony. Like I said, I'm still waiting on an email from Runnings, but anyway, and then,
Ideally, it'd be nice to buy it roughly and have them print.
right, it would be nice. I think what Lisa was telling me is it's $4 a shirt to print it. Some people were commenting that their experience with the printing was not great, the vinyl printing. I don't know if they do screen printing now, or
Contract Cody Golden.
does she do that now?
Yeah.
She
If you have the look, I'm she'll do it.
Okay,
I call customs or whatever, this is what she calls it.
is that what, I did not realize that's what it was. Good to know, because I would like to see a
She
little
might
bit.
actually be able to get the high vis stuff for you too, if you look at her website. She's
Yeah,
got a lot of stuff.
I would be
in there.
surprised if
I'll give
you
her a call.
couldn't.
Yeah, she can get pretty much what you want, I think.
okay,
So,
definitely give her a call. And then policy wise, there's some questions that have been brought up. Right now, our coat stipend amount is $75. We can get bomber jackets at Runnings for $65, $70. So a bomber jacket would cover whatever. I know we talked about the parkas, but they come apart, and are they gonna have them on them when they need them, and I don't know. But also, a couple of the guys are asking, because they work with grease and asphalt, about a jeans allowance. And these are just things for you guys to discuss, because they're just things that I said I would bring up, so they were brought to my attention. And then somebody commented about washing machines at the shop. If they could wash their greasy, oily stuff at the shop, it would be nice. Doug mentioned that the Weed and Pest Board does have a washing machine and a dryer. Talking to Randy, it's one of those old ringer washers, which, I mean, if you're using diesel to get your asphalt out of your clothes, you don't need anything too fancy. But then Randy mentioned that the ringer wasn't working the last time he used it. And he said the dryer has also done that.
So the service that we're using now that's providing laundry and stuff, does that stuff come back without oil and grease stains on it, or?
Not always, not always. A lot of times, like the hide is yellow, getting that asphalt out of it, it doesn't come all the way out when it's heavily on there. But I don't know.
You know, I guess my thoughts are, some of that is, we need to come up with the right amount, and if we want to proceed or everything else, I guess, but obviously, in my thoughts, like after you go at this for a while, and in a year or two, you're probably gonna have that second set of clothes that maybe aren't real great, if you know the day you're gonna be asphalting,
Right.
crawling into something, that you wear the old stuff, you know what I mean, versus wear the new stuff.
Right.
Hopefully it'll kind of work itself out if that's the case, if that's the path we want to take.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I know the jeans were kind of one of the questions. But, I know the city, I talked to the city and they said that they get a $350 clothing stipend a year, which I guess honestly with what we're giving them right now, that's running about that. For the four sweatshirts and the 8 shirts. But, for the future then, I don't know.
I think in the past, I mean, you had it on your last one, but what does it cost? Do you know what it costs a year to have
that.
the service?
Yeah. I
For
got
like
that
per
on
person?
here. I didn't bring it today. I'll get on that website.
I could have it here somewhere, too, so.
It's on last month's agenda. Yeah, that was silly.
And I guess the other thing that we discussed beyond the specifics of this actual policy is, certainly the highway department is the largest user of this, but I think we probably also gotta think about the sheriff's office. We test, emergency management, I mean, that's.
Sure.
All
That's
kinds of
okay.
stuff.
101.
Where do you start stuff?
Uniform program right there, alternatives. There you go. Thank you. So this is what we came up with. It was $701 a month, clothes, or to wash and rent those clothes, which after paying for them, they're not ours. We've asked if we could buy them off of them. They said they charge us random prices for used clothes. So it's better for us to just get new. But when we're looking at what we've got going on, it changes it to $223 a month per a person,
That's what it will be?
for clothing, for everybody.
That's what,
Yeah, that's, well, Whoops,
Sorry.
sorry.
Keep that big feet at home.
So for the annual total cost between 1023 and 1024, came to $9,622 a year that we'd be saving. And that came to $701 a month. If we purchased, well, and that's for 10 employees was $2,679. That's $223 a month for employees. And that, of course, with, right now we've got 8 employees or 7 employees who are gonna need clothes. We lost Vaughn last month and, at the beginning of this month. And, Jeff and Danny have opted out. They said they've got their own high-vis clothing that they'll just wear. So they said, just take us off the program. I think Danny's anticipating retiring in May. So he figures it's not worth it.
Do they get the
I know. Well, that's up to these guys. I know, they're not worried about it, but I know. So,
The 8 t-shirts, 4 sweaters, is that just, you just kind of thinking?
that's kind of the standard that I figured we'd start with. And then, like, next year, I figured we'd buy 4 more t-shirts and a couple of sweaters. And honestly, I mean, if they bring us their stuff and it's destroyed completely, I figured we'd replace it.
Yeah, they're gonna have some, there has to be some specific stipulation, I think, because you're gonna have some people that are gonna take care of it, some that aren't, it's just the way it is.
Yeah,
You can't just give them whatever they want to a certain
on a
extent, you gotta
regular
have
basis.
some kind of a.
Well, and even if it's
That's
just
called,
we'll replace up to.
I mean, there's language about, reasonable wear and tear. Which I don't think you can put, I don't think you can put like a specific, like if it has 4 holes in it.
Right.
I know, that's the petty. I mean, sometimes you can make it as simple or as complicated as you like. But I don't know.
I guess I would think you maybe have some kind of a stipend on that. For their other stuff, maybe that would encompass the jackets, like bibs, pants, like all as one, as a lump sum, you spend it in one, and then have the other stuff. Maybe, but I also think what Dan said, if you're gonna do it, if you do it for these, there should be some kind of a stipend in all the
And everybody just
other ones
gets
that you have. As long as you get
jeans or.
a shirt or whatever, it's in county or something, maybe.
Well,
So many dollars every year they spend on clothing or something.
Talking to Ron up at the city, he said that he'll just order his own high-vis shirts and they take them to the colony, have them embossed. And then he is reimbursed with his receipts. So I mean, I don't know, how do you guys want to approach this? Do we want to make it we offer this catalog of goods and you can place your order at this time of year? And order up to 4 shirts or 2 sweaters or?
Those other departments you talked about, they
Yeah.
already have internal policies on that.
Okay.
There's nothing in the budget now that covers any of this, correct?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so each department, like Greg had mentioned, already has built into their budget for those supplies. They just consider normal supplies. But this is of a larger scale, which is why we're bringing it here.
I guess we have to make sure everyone else is on board with doing it. But I think it seems to make sense by the numbers as long as we come up with a reasonable expectation of how many we think we can have and all the other things that go along with it, I guess.
I mean, I feel us purchasing them and getting them, it makes more sense to me, Richard and stipend and just, and forcing them to do it all individually, just seems like
Right, and then
massive.
that place is around Carolyn too, and she's reimbursing
Yeah. I mean, this seems cleaner to me.
We just have to have a list, in my opinion, they make a list of what you can buy. So you don't go buy a $50 pair of bibs and he goes and buys a $400 pair of bibs.
Well, I'm just,
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, I'm saying we purchase what is required. And then, yeah, if we want a stipend for,
And, I mean, can we do the stipend on the coat still, or do we wanna just pay for the coat, or, that's where it's tricky. Cause like the city says, well, they pay for the coat. Well, you got parkas, and you got bomber jackets, and you got raincoats, so
yeah, I don't know, I guess, why do we separate out?
at this point, we just reimburse people $75 when they bring in a receipt. But if you guys are good with that continuing,
Unless we think we can agree on a certain one or two coats or bibs, then those are the ones that you can pick from. This is the list of ones you can pick from, kind of thing. I don't know if that's reasonable or not.
Some of them menu.
Kind of,
well, and another thing that Doug mentioned is your guys have bigger costs.
Yeah.
Which it's usually
Little
not
bit.
much from what I'm seeing.
it'll be a little bit though.
Presently, you don't have any, though.
Huh?
You don't have any big stuff.
Any really big fellas? No. No. But,
It'd be interesting to talk to, I guess, get a better feel from Runnings and from Cody maybe, to see what they have available.
I look forward to
Get some
checking
prices
with
from
Cody.
them.
I didn't realize that was her thing. So, so if you guys wanna let me continue looking into that, you good with that? All right, and then I will turn over the ordinance to Jeff, so he can bring that to you again.
Okay, concerning the setting of speed limits on North Commercial Avenue in St. Lawrence. I had this here last month, ordinance from 2024-01.
Excuse me, Josh. So I saw the agenda, but it's not north.
North of Highway 14 down to 6th Street. It's about 3 blocks.
I don't know how far that.
Yeah, it's just before you get to Halo Fence.
This is just the second reading, so you'll need to read the title and make a motion one way or another. You don't have to read the whole thing. I'll read it if you want.
Here, I think. Right.
I'll read it. This is ordinance 2024-01, setting of speed limit on North Commercial Avenue in St. Lawrence. The meat of it is that it be ordained by the Hank County Board of Commissioners that ordinance 2024-01 is hereby adopted, and that the speed limit on North Commercial Avenue is as follows. Between South Dakota Highway 14 and 6th Street, for a distance of 1,300 feet, which is set at 35 miles per hour, shall now be set at 25 miles per hour.
We need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. So it's ordinance 2024-01.
A motion by Greg and a second by Luke. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll take a roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
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 I myself am an aye.
Okay, we'll just take care of it now.
Sure.
So we got, in the bridge, the grants program, we have 2 bridges that are going to be under the 20 feet after we get them replaced, which means they'll turn into township bridges. In order to do that, we need a joint powers agreement And they have those signs from the townships, one's Logan, the other township line, and the other one is Reed Heights Town. We had, Ellen's office review these, they thought they looked fine, and then we had the township close sign on, so
They're okay with it, obviously.
they signed it. If we can get those approved, then I can.
Thanks for move.
Both of them together, Rich?
Yes.
Second.
A motion from Rich, a second from Dan. Is there discussion on that motion?
Is that gonna happen this year yet?
No, these have to be in place before they will continue. I'm not sure just when they will take place, it's down the road. So I got the sign copy, so we just start signing them.
Yep.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Did Brad send you the resolution for these?
He sent it to me,
Oh, you sent it?
yeah,
I got it on the screen.
and we edited it. Do you not have it in your hands?
I don't have the resolution.
I got it up on the TV.
Whatever you want to, Jeff.
Just a minute, keep these.
I just need copies, then I'll send them out, so I'll make sure you get the original file.
So we've gone to the point where the PE grants, I think they're all done, so now we need a replacement grant. Preliminary engineering for replacement. And this is strictly by point system. The higher the points on your bridges, then we compete against the whole state, which ones get drawn. So we elected to take the three worst, highest scores that we have, which the higher the score, the worse the bridge. So that they need this resolution in place to go forward with to get these on the list for grants. You know, they'll submit these for bid, and not for bid, they submit them.
We're applying for a grant for repairs. The previous grants were engineering.
These are all replacements,
These.
replacement grants.
Taking out bridges and putting in boxes or something, or?
Yes, all the bridges that are coming out will be replaced by box.
And we're just applying for those three structures.
Yeah, we can pick and choose any one we want. We have one that we really want to get in there, but if the one that I'd like to have done is on a county road, I would Jeff Clements, but the score is a little lower, which means you're gonna be down the list, so you might not get it in there anyway, so it almost kind of makes sense to put the highest first and get them as they come.
And if you guys want to see the locations of those bridges, the bridge map is over there. It's one of them.
You're not the one just watching Jeff's?
Yeah.
That
It's not a good bridge.
No.
It's on a county road, I think it's one of the few that is on a
Yeah.
county road.
So we can reapply as we go, or
They will keep applying for these till you get them all in there, but I think we decided we'd go with three of them, start with, we got to fund them also.
move to approve resolution 2024-17.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dan, second by Luke to approve resolution 2024-19. Is there a discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
I myself am an aye. Motion passes.
Do you have a copy of the resolution?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Jack.
Hey, Josh? So, I'm sorry, so you guys not, that's the problem, I didn't have it.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, so you guys came out to look for gravel and didn't
Oh,
have it.
yeah, no, too.
I thought for sure,
Never know.
I was so disappointed, digging.
Yeah, we're in a perfect spot.
Finally.
Keep looking at
There's another spot,
it. Okay,
I'll give you directions, but
sounds good.
for retirement. I'm gonna find a gravel pit.
Rock sometimes.
Well, that's, this plant that they go for holes in the back of all that gravel and this guy.
Right, it looks convincing and there's a lot of clay sometimes. All right, you guys ready for the fun part? Got financial reports here. Let's see here. Thank you. All right. So the year's about over. We are at our revenue, we're at 104.8% of our expected revenues from taxes for the road and bridge. We haven't had a transfer in for a while, and I know Doug was gonna talk to you guys about those today, what we're gonna do for the year end. So, I mean, we're on track for what our original plans were. Our expenses are not out of this world. One thing we wanted to mention is the furnace went out in the shop. And we're getting that fixed today.
Got it in.
$3,200
Oh, was the estimate told me.
was the estimate installed, what we got. So that'll be coming in a check one of these days. You got the bank? That'll be coming in a check. Technology. So for my estimated cash balance, we've got $543,469 as a cash balance. Looking at my fun little sheet here. That is still reserving out those Schmidt Bridge funds. We got a bill from Holloway, who's doing our bridges. We signed into a contract with them last year. And he has ordered the materials for the bridge. And he's requesting payment on the materials. And we are looking into whether we can send him a check here, maybe end of the month. Doug Kuber said he doesn't see a problem with that. So, middle of the month, we're gonna check in with the proper authorities to make sure that we're not in trouble for paying for something that's not on our property.
That's approximately.
That is actually $33,500 in steel for ID steel materials. We are estimating, last year in December, we brought in about $49,000 in revenues from the wheel tax and motor vehicle taxes. So with that and the bills that you guys paid today, we'll be sitting about that $543,000 mark. Our estimated budget for the rest of the month, let's see. Up here. So we're not sitting quite as flush as we were hoping we would be, but we are not in the negative, so
That's
all
all.
that good. We are estimating $100,000 in the payroll because we have about $40,000 budgeted for insurance. Is that still coming out in December? Okay, so we'll see what that amount actually is when it comes through. Payroll's going down, employees are going down. But there's not a whole lot left to the year, guys.
That doesn't include the 33,000.
No. It does not, but that's gonna be going on to the rate fund, not the road and bridge fund. So it shouldn't affect, no, well, shoot, hold on. Am I misstating? The money for the bridge is from
That's coming.
FEMA. That is coming out of the
That's
road
in
and bridge.
201.
Sorry, correct. That is the 201. So, but the money, that is the money that we're holding out from FEMA, so honestly, that's not reflecting in here. So, you can see the estimated revenue that we could be bringing in, $146,000 transfer in, and $170,000 left in expenses. We'll end the year with $533,000, which will get us to what we need for our beginning cash balance to make next year's budget work. Doug was talking about transferring in more than that. So we should be sitting pretty for the end of the year, ending it well.
Till it starts snowing and drifting.
That'll be fine.
We're gonna do a transfer before the end of the year.
Jeff says if we're not paying for snow, we're paying for gravel, so I think he's on point there.
We'll do that in our year-end meeting, or?
No, it's on this agenda.
Yeah.
So you guys can discuss that. I do have to say that that transfer in at the beginning of this year is what got us through till April. And we made it just fine. So we're back there again.
Sweet.
I'll pass the time, unless you guys have questions.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Yes,
Put my
sir.
stamp on them. Okay, copy them.
Can do.
Jim, to your right, there's the flats. The Amer edition and the Hager edition. Jim's desk there. Each of them has been reviewed. Can't see you, Susan? Yep. All good to go? We actually have them in possession this time.
I make a motion to approve the Amer edition plat. Second.
Got a motion by Luke and a second by Greg to approve the Amer edition, just that one, or both of them?
Separately.
Is it, I have to write them on there, who moves, so if you agree to do them both, I write them both that way.
you do both.
Okay, so Luke's motion is for the Amer edition and the Hager edition plats. Second, so.
Yes.
Yep, you got a second, is there discussion on approving the plats? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And I just spoke to Hannah by text message, and she does not need to have that conversation with you. She just wanted you to know that to be in compliance with parameters within the library, they have to have an internet use policy, in particular that deals with kids and access to internet content. So right now it's at Health and Innocence office for review. So she's not coming. So we can move to the general fund analysis. Which this was. Where I could see it. So we're at 85% of our expected revenues, so things are looking pretty good there. I don't have any concerns to tell you about as far as revenues go.
This is the general budget.
General fund, yes.
85% of our expected revenue through the end of the year.
Correct.
So we
But you gotta remember, because of the way our system works, these are still numbers from last month.
Oh, yeah.
So we're always.
So realistically, we got 2 months left almost.
Right, so she had big collections in October, but we also have significant collections in November, so by the middle of the month, I could give you better numbers, so I don't have any concerns. The expenditure side, elections, and I have this on the contingency transfer list. The expense for elections was higher than I expected it to be because of improvements in security. And then we had some other budgets, but sorry, that's the wrong budget. That is the 201. I need to be here. So when you look at this worksheet online, what I really look at is these numbers here at the bottom. They don't put a lot of information or don't draw attention to what's up above. So like this particular budget is the commissioners, it's at 76% spent, contingency is 0, and then it just continues by each one. So you can see with elections, there's $5,400 left in that budget at the end of the month. But I just submitted vouchers for the ES&S expenses, which is over 4,000. So we'll be asking you for some more there. And we also had an increased expense because we started doing the post-election audit, so we had some extra staff expense. I did reduce some expense going forward. I successfully adopted out 3 of our ES or our express vote machines to Lincoln County, and I have a request to approve that. That will save us about $500 in annual maintenance fees. But if you would, you can just thumb through these and you can see where everybody's at. My particular budget auditor is at 91%, and that's because when I was doing salaries last year, I forgot to put in our longevity pay. So remember when you asked about why our budget went up for 25? That's why. Got caught with my pants down. It's ugly. So we'll cover that in a little while. And then these are the special funds, which is above the highway department and beyond. And all of these look like they're in really good shape. We just sent a bill to Buffalo County for 10 grand for the last 2 quarters to get reimbursement there. I did speak with Arlen yesterday, and he said the state reimbursements were 100%, but this one's been docked because of that, whatever you call it, the federal allocation to the state was reduced. So we're gonna have to look at that and see what its impact is gonna be. Otherwise, in domestic abuse, we didn't take in enough money through Susie's office. So you have a choice, you either pay what we got for domestic violence fees, which is about 400 and some bucks right now, or you live up to the budget by using your funds to make up the difference. So at some point, you need to make that decision. You can make it today, or you can wait till the end of the month. And
So you're making these changes today, you feel like they're gonna cover us through the end of the month.
I'm hoping so.
We're hoping.
I'm hoping we don't have to have this discussion at the end of the month. But there's always those rare things that pop up, but yeah. Like insurance, I gotta do our workman's comp and our property insurance this month. 24/7 program still funds itself, so that's good. The M&P funds itself. Both of those have a pretty good cash reserve in their funds that don't show up on these budgets. And then this is the TIF in the system. It's called Other Economic Development. And then this would be the TIF transfer, that's the administrative fees. And then the RAFE program, Nicole and I spent some time talking about this because when Sylvia Chapman was doing the annual report work, she thought that there was an error in the debiting and crediting of those amounts. And so she and I are working on that to find out if her impression is true or not. And then the hospital fund, again, that's a contract, so it's pretty well locked into place. We don't have really any day-to-day or year-to-year control over how that works. So as far as these special funds go, that all looks good. Again, this cash balance report, you got to remember that these numbers were valid before today's meeting. And so we're looking pretty good for cash. And that's why I have a request in there for you to consider that transfer to Road and Bridge. Because if we carry too much cash over in the general fund, there's an audit comment that'll be made basically saying you got too much money in the general fund. And there's no consequence if there's too much money in any other fund, just the general fund. And then as far as collections go, this is a report that the treasurer's office gives to me at the beginning of each month. So there's your property tax collections by district. So the county had 117,000 in collections. The school district, Miller School District was 287. But otherwise, yeah, we're looking pretty good going into the end of the year, so I'm pretty happy about that. What we're doing is working. In a discussion amongst the auditors, one of the legislative audit speakers talked to us about when you analyze budgets, if you see a budget that has too much sitting in it, well, that should be an indication that they're over budgeting or padding their budget too much. And we encourage you guys to take a look at that and decide what you want to do. Some of those other budgets where we were doing that, for example, we were putting money in the care for the poor, even though we knew reasonably that we wouldn't probably have any claims, so we took that money out, put it in contingency so that if there was an event that occurred, it could be covered. So to convey their message to you guys, I would encourage you to look at those and see what you think about over budgeting.
Sort of that point, because there was one that came up, so like a week past budget. There was one where we said, well, we're adding in some padding for a new hire that we may or may not do. And so you're saying maybe it's better to just budget what we know for sure, and then if we need contingency.
That's what they're saying. When I talk to department heads about budgeting, I tell them to plan surprises.
That seems to make more sense to me, but
there is stuff. I think what you're trying to convey is that if you have a budget that's just unreasonably bigger than this.
I mean, it makes sense to budget with some padding. The problem is when we start talking about tax levies, I mean, if we're going to balance the budget and we start inflating our levy to a point where we're trying to fund a budget that's never going to be that high because we're adding like 10%.
Right.
It's not like a problem.
Yep, just delivering the message. The reconciled cash report, that's still on my desk. I can grab that for you. Basically, that's where Kim gives us the bank balance to see what we compare to what we should have. And that's luckily always been a good balance there, so. Any questions on the financial report? Okay, now I want to talk to you about human resources. I want to visit with you, or a committee of you, about a conflict that typically takes place when we make a hire, but we don't have the terms of employment spelled out. So for example, if you were to hire a dog catcher, we don't have a job description for dog catcher. So what are they expected to do? When are they expected to work? Stuff like that. So I called around, I asked for a couple examples, and I made one, and I want to go over it either with all of you or some of you, and we can do that at the end of the meeting, before we do these positions. So it would cover things like how much they get paid, and we put it in print. We talk about how they're compensated, if they're paid hourly, or if they're paid on a salary basis. We would talk about when you expect them to be at work, how many days, hours, weeks, whatever that might be. Who they would answer to, whether it's a commissioner liaison or somebody else. So I want to visit with you about that. The second thing is, we have one application for VSO. The advertisement period hasn't ended yet, but my suggestion is, from looking at this, that we send this application to peer for approval, and that if we don't get any other applicants, that we can either have an in-person meeting and approve an appointment, or we can have a telephonic meeting to do an appointment. Somewhere around the middle of the month. How do you feel about that? I don't think it would be to our advantage to wait until the end of the month to do it.
But do you need a decision to send the up to here right now, or?
Yeah. You want to do that?
I move that we send this BSO application, or?
Yep.
Send it to peer, to have them investigate.
Second.
A motion and a second to send that VSO application to peer for approval. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Same discussion with the coroner's position. There is one person that took an application. I didn't get it back yet, so I'm not sure on the commitment right now as to that. But same thing with that is about doing the expectations, what it is the parameters that they don't have ironed out to iron out. Hopefully we avoid conflicts in the future. Presently, we have one application that was received yesterday for the highway maintenance worker. I started sending out requests for references on that. And there was a court ruling that came out about the Fair Labor Standards Act, when they changed and pay as it would relate to salary department heads and non-salary department heads. Basically, that court intervention stopped that activity, so that's not going to take place until that's resolved. So that bought us some time. And then at the end of the period, I do have a discussion that I would like to talk to you about in executive session. And that is not to screen out minutes. Any questions about the HR stuff?
The application for coroner is still running in the paper through the end of the month, or?
We're required to do it for at least 2 weeks. My plan is to do it for at least 3. And then the DSO one is also being advertised in the Iowa paper. So, next I have the report of the post-election audit, and that's actually a document that is within the agenda. Essentially what it says is that we held it on November 19th. All the ballots in precinct 1 were accounted for. The results of the presidential race amendment being initiated Measure 29 were reviewed. Results of the audit were compared to the results of the ESNS DS200 tabulators. There was one vote for Kennedy, which was different from the tabulated count. The other 2 races were perfect match. The discrepancy with Kennedy could be the result of the tabulator not counting a lightly filled oval, whereas the counting board with their eyes did count that.
So if that should have shown up as an undervote, then something still ballots, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But the auditing board didn't count undervotes. So the mitigation of that is basically to do a better campaign to try and convince people to mark the ballots that you're supposed to be. So it might be we get better pins, make sure that the pins aren't getting weak, so it's a lightly filled oval. I personally would like to see the ovals be larger, but chance of that happening is pretty unlikely. I did get a lot of feedback, negative feedback on the size of the ballot, since there was so much real estate on the ballot, but yet the print size on the ballot was still small. And that's out of my control, but it is something that I forwarded to those that need to know. So, with that,
On the topic of all of those ballot measures, I think there's going to be legislation introduced this year that to get something put on the ballot in South Dakota, it has to be South Dakota citizens circulating those petitions. And also they're talking about banning paid circulators. So, because I had a few people complain that, my God, are we gonna vote on everything under the sun moving forward? Are we gonna get more and more of these ballot measures all the time? Some of these ones that we just voted on are funded by out-of-state money and out-of-state intent, I guess I would say. So I think if that comes up in our legislature, I would suggest people support that. We should be dealing with South Dakota issues on our ballot, not issues from all over the country. And that would cut down on a whole lot of this stuff getting added to our ballots that isn't even a South Dakota issue. Carry on.
Okay. The next item is contingency transfers, and just to refresh your memory, the contingency is in some places called the commissioner's contingency. It is not part of the commissioner's expense budget. It is a budget unto itself, and it does not allow for expenditures directly from the contingency, which is why the transfers have to take place. So my first request is from contingency transfer to the Veteran Service Office. The VSO is currently $1,011.32 over due to wage increases. And so I took that, coupled with the chance that we were going to have a new employee, and I'm requesting $3,000 to be transferred from contingency into the VSO expense budget to cover those wages through the end of the year.
I move that we transfer those funds. That's provided we're not. We got money in the contingency.
Second.
A motion by Rich, second by Greg to transfer that $3,000 to the VSO fund. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is my budget, in particular, from contingency to auditor, in the amount of $5,000, and this was due to another estimation of wages in the budget planning process.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Greg to transfer $5,000 into the auditor's budget. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The last one is a contingency transfer to elections in the amount of $5,000, and that was due to increased the cost of election supplies, added security, and the addition of post-election auditors. We do get reimbursed for a portion of the post-election audit, but rather than do a supplement to put it back in, it's just claimed to do it this way. And the money we receive back just goes into general revenue.
A motion by Luke and a second by Greg to move from contingency to elections, correct?
Yes.
Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is a fund level transfer, and this is from the general fund to the road and bridge fund in the amount of $750,000.
And that's, that amount, is that where we, didn't sound like we needed it right away, but we want to keep that fund in our general funds
We want to make
low
sure,
enough.
right, because there are some budgets that have, I don't like the word surplus, but it's the easiest one to understand, unspent budget. And so when the end of the year comes around, well, that's gonna roll back, and we might find ourselves being over 40% threshold.
That's not good.
No, they don't like that. The alternative is we can do approval of 750, but we can do it in portions. So like if we have a meeting in the middle of the month, we can talk about where we're at. Revised financials come out, and do a second one.
I mean, we're gonna already be at the end of the month anyway, I assume. Would that be enough time to do the transfer?
At the end of the month,
Yeah. Yeah.
you wanna just wait then?
Maybe we'll have a lot more information on that.
Okay.
That's just my thought.
You can make a motion to table it till the next meeting. Please.
Until the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thought you said next month.
Oh, yeah, move the table until meeting at the end of the month.
Second.
Got a motion to table that transfer until the meeting at the end of the month by Dan, second by Greg. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
At the end of the year meeting, I have to advertise for a budget supplement. And this is a supplement to take money from the LAPC fund and put it into the LAPC expenditure budget to cover the purchase of the drone. So it's just a formality, so you can look for that. And then the last item in this section is the election asset transfer. And this is from Hank County to Lincoln County. They took them 2 ES&S Express Vote ballot marking devices, which are the ones intended for people who are hard of sight or hard of hearing or difficult with movement. I've listed the serial numbers here for you. The weird part about this is that the state says they're ours, but they're not really ours. But they tell us that I have to insure them, and I have to put them on our inventory. So that's why I'm bringing this to you. Just so
there's a record of it.
I'm guessing that's really the only reason.
So we kept some, obviously, how many do we
We
have?
have 6, so I have 5 that we use in each of the 5 precincts and 1 extra. Looks great.
These are extras from when we had 12 precincts.
It is. Yeah, like I said, because we don't have to do the annual maintenance agreement on, it saves us about $507.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
A motion by Greg, second by Dan to approve that transfer of those 2 express vote machines. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is to review and approve the minutes of the November 7th meeting, which includes a report of the canvassing. So if you look at the minutes, you see all those tables in there. That all got reformatted into columnized for the newspaper, but that's all our minutes look.
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion by Dan and second by Luke to approve the minutes of the November 7th regular meeting with the canvassing board. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next item is the consent agenda, which includes the building permit since the last report, the registrar's financial statement for September, the registrar's financial statement for October, payroll ledger for November, the library board minutes and financial report for October, and they don't have or she wasn't able to give me the draft minutes, so it's skipped. And then you'll also be approving the bills, claims.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Luke and a second by Dan to approve the consent agenda. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then I have that one request for an executive session. And if you would give me a 10-minute recess, so I can switch gears and get some paperwork.
Move to enter executive session.
Or recess and
We're recessed.
Oh,
2:45, 3 o'clock, I noon, I agree.
I three.
40.
Yep, 2:40.
I agree, 240.
All right. 10 minutes?
Let's go 2:50.
Okay.
We will reconvene.
I'm gonna go ahead and shut the recorder off now, though.
I appreciate the tapping, but.
Do we have a date? for the
I didn't-
next meeting?
It's good to-
No, we'll do that.
First time,
Well,
first
if you want.
first year job. I
I was just gonna do it at the end.
No, it's gonna be okay, no.
And one that yours has a
The next
board consists of.
13 years never found.
Never thought of it.
Or better now, quicker. Do you want to set the date for the end of the month again?
When would you like it? 30th? The 30th?
Not after
I would suggest
26.
26th,
Yeah, I'm thinking
just in case of blizzard, so we get
one or
a
the other.
little leeway.
How about the 26th, rain day, 27th,
Did we rule a word?
Leave now.
evening?
Yes, I would prefer
Evening would be great.
Okay,
early evening.
the evening of the 26th, 7 o'clock?
No word?
Okay. You'd be so set.
Regular minute meeting, Georgia one.
Yep.
Very good idea. So I was on, we come in, yeah, break for lunch.
I think your neighbor's the one that initiated that.
Yeah, because I could get chores done.
Here's this way.
Well, I couldn't get chores done. Get here.
I'm sorry, we're gonna go into executive session then, after this.
Yep.
For what?
When did you tell me?
Personnel.
26?
26, 7 o'clock.
Sarah wants to get into meeting.
Did you get Jake Windexter's handout?
I did not.